Testing. Oh, there we go. All right, that was amazing. Wow, star-studded panel. Told you. And it doesn't stop. Next up, we have a really exciting session called Exploring the Future of Efficiency, Aptera's Breakthrough Electric Vehicle Technology. Arguably, Aptera is the world's most efficient electric vehicle, right, on the planet Earth. And here we have, really privileged to have Chris Anthony, CEO of Aptera, and he will be interviewed by Ted Morena, our Chief Product Officer at TOSV. So, without further ado, I will give it to you. Chris, Ted.
Thanks so much.
Hi, everybody. How you doing out there? Great. Thank you guys for sitting in. My name's Ted Morena. I'm really excited to do this interview today. I do a lot of product reviews for the Tesla owners Silicon Valley. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. And Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Chris Anthony. I'm co-CEO of Aptera. We're building the world's most efficient electric vehicle powered by the sun.
And it's right over here. So we brought it over so you guys could take a look at it. I think it's a tremendous leap forward in technology. And so I got a number of questions that I wanted to ask Chris. And without further ado, I'm going to kind of get started. And then depending upon how the time goes, if some of you guys out there have questions, I'm going to see if we can get a mic and maybe pass around. So let's see how this goes. So I think the first thing I want to ask Chris is, you guys have garnered a lot of attention for the efficiency, the fact that you have the solar integration with the vehicle. So you can kind of give us an idea and expand upon how the technology enhances the range, reduces the anxiety, and sort of anything you want to add on the tech behind the vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, most automobiles actually evolved from the horse and buggy. You got four wheels on the corners, and that's just how things have evolved. We kind of took an Elon-inspired first principles engineering approach and said, how do you solve for the most efficient vehicle ever? And we found that aerodynamics is hugely important in overall efficiency. You can burn 60 to 70% of your fuel at highway speeds just pushing air out of the way in a sedan or an SUV. So if you start with aerodynamics and you make it very aerodynamic, then you can also solve the other things. And
so
it's
what is the aerodynamic efficiency? I'm just curious if you know off the top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, our coefficient of drag is roughly 0.13, which is on par with even some of the solar race vehicles you see out in Australia, competing across many, many miles. So we focused on aerodynamics first, then rolling resistance, the weight of the vehicle. Then we got a really efficient powertrain with in-wheel motors. The motors are actually in the wheels for this vehicle, so no transaxle, no drive shaft. That also makes it more aerodynamic. And you put all those together, and we have a vehicle that uses less than 100 watt-hours per mile. So everyone here driving a Tesla, you've probably looked at the screen and seen how many watt-hours
That's really amazing.
We're burning, and we're burning under 100. So it's super, super efficient. And when you make it efficient, you can do cool things like it charges really fast. We have a 50 kilowatt DC fast charge, supercharged connector, the NAX connector, which we were so blessed with. Superior Tesla technology that we championed and fought hard to get, and now it's open to the world, and GM and Ford and lots of other people have adopted it. So it's amazing technology, but our vehicle charges 4 to 5 times quicker than all the other electric vehicles at the supercharger because we use so little energy. So you can charge it quick. And then you can add things like solar, which has really meaningful range if you're burning 100 watt-hours per mile. So we have 700 watts of solar on top, and that 700 watts can give you over 40 miles a day of free solar charging.
And I'm just curious, I see the solar panels on the top of the vehicle. Are they on the hood too, or is it just on the top of it?
Yeah, this vehicle is a standard vehicle, so it has solar panels on the roof and on the dash, but you can also option up to get a solar hood and a solar rear hatch. You put them all together, and that's what gets you the 40 miles a day. As equipped, it gets you kind of 18 miles a day. So it depends on how you drive and what you can use.
That's amazing. It's really terrific. Thanks for explaining that and sort of sharing that knowledge. Now, obviously, this isn't a conventional looking vehicle, and it's optimized for the coefficient of drag, as you say, and the efficiency and so on. Can you talk a little bit about, like, sort of in the company's organization, what's the target customer? I mean, obviously, a lot of people here are into EVs or they wouldn't be here. So I'm sure many of these folks could potentially be a target. But what do you guys see as sort of the customers and the ones that you've had on your waiting list and those who are sort of waiting for the vehicle?
Yeah, we as a company didn't start at a very typical place. We didn't start with a market segment or a minimum viable product. We didn't go out and do a focus group to figure out what kind of crossover SUV would work best and how many cup holders we need. We started with the equation for efficiency, and through computational fluid dynamics, we refined the shape of this vehicle such that it looks today, and just whittled down the weight and made the powertrain more efficient and everything that the vehicle is about. And then we kind of put it out to the world. So we have good information on the type of people that love the Aptera, but we didn't start with like a target customer. We didn't go after people. We tried to make the best engineering solution for efficient transportation, and then luckily we've gotten lots of support. We have 44,000 orders for the Aptera now. Over 16,000 people have invested in the company, the most successful crowdfunding in the history of America. So I think it's very humbling to have such great support. But people that we found, Sarah, our wonderful chief marketing officer here, has done amazing research in that mostly people love it for its environmental responsibility, a lot like Tesla, doing better for the planet. The second, kind of aggressive engineering, kind of bleeding edge engineering, a lot like Tesla. But then again, people really love the unique look of this. So, those three segments are kind of the people that are really drawn to Aptera. Your environmental protectors, people that are intrigued by the cutting edge engineering, and people that just want the coolest vehicle in their neighborhood. And if you see this thing, rolling down your cul-de-sac, you would definitely look twice.
You're from the future.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I mean, having that many, investors and pre-orders and crowdsourcing it, that's got to be quite inspirational. So, we're obviously wishing all the best and that you get those things delivered and going.
Yep,
we know
great.
it's a big effort, and you guys have put in a tremendous amount of work thus far, and the results are starting to show, which is great.
As Elon says, we're headed into production hell now.
Would you like to expand on that any further?
There's a lot of moving pieces. So we've chosen to simplify the design as much as possible. Hopefully some of you get to see Sandy Monroe while you're here. Monroe & Associates has helped us from the beginning to design the most manufacturable vehicle ever. The body structure of the Aptera consists of only 6 parts. They're carbon fiber SMC parts, so they're stamped out. They're very reproducible, and they don't move like steel or aluminum in the manufacturing process. So they're very easy to put together. So we've tried to limit our hell in manufacturing by trying to simplify the vehicle, simplify the wiring harness, eliminate connectors, put as much stuff on the screen as possible so there's not a lot of switches around the vehicle, and just make it as brutally simple as possible. It's got a simple interior. It's got modular, every kind of subsystem in the vehicle is modular, so we can just order it from a supplier. They deliver it to us. We put in a couple bolts and a couple connectors, and you're done. So we've hopefully learned from Elon that we need to simplify, and Sandy Monroe has just been a blessing to us to really help us refine this as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's totally true. No part is the best part. And
yes.
You guys have taken that to heart.
Deleting a line of code is very hard for an engineer.
So obviously it's a 3-wheel vehicle. And I just wanted to ask, I was sort of putting my hat on. It's like, hey, if I'm considering it, say I'm sitting in the audience, I look at the vehicle. So what do you guys have to ensure stability of the vehicle, and maybe talk a little bit about its performance and where it can go?
Yeah, front-wheel drive race vehicles, whenever they take an aggressive corner, they actually lift the inside rear wheel. So you only get the advantage of 3 traction patches anyways in aggressive stability scenarios. So we said, if we could get rid of that 4th wheel, we would pick up aerodynamics, we would lose weight, just do so many things to kind of make the vehicle overall more efficient. So we decided to push the weight forward in the vehicle. It's 65% front weight biased, and it handles, like a dream. We've had it out to the racetrack many times. Skid pad, 60 mile an hour, 45 mile-an-hour curb strike test. You hit the curb at an angle, pothole test. We've kind of put it through the rigors, and it's performed very, very well. And I think that when people get in this vehicle, hopefully when they do the first test drives, they'll feel it's like a lot of other kind of smaller electric vehicles out there. I've had a lot of people say, well, this drives kind of like my Model 3. So I hope that that's what people pick up when it's out on the road. We have a very unique rear suspension. It's a trailing link rear suspension. So the tire doesn't float like a motorcycle. It floats very much like a traditional automotive four-wheeled vehicle. So we hopefully we can do, blindfolded side-by-side tests and take them out in a four-wheeled vehicle and then take them out in our vehicle, and they would never know the difference.
And so can you comment a little further on some of the speed of the vehicle and, range, that type of thing? Just some of the specs.
Yeah, this vehicle is top speed of 110 miles an hour. It's electromechanically limited. It's as fast as the voltage can spin the motors. The in-wheel motors are much bigger, so it's a little different scenario than when you have a smaller, higher RPM motor. 0 to 60 is 4 seconds in the all-wheel drive version and 5 seconds in the front-wheel drive version. So you can opt to get the all-wheel drive, add the rear wheel to the drive system. And the launch edition vehicle that we're producing next year has a 400-mile range battery pack, but we also have a 600 and 1,000-mile range battery pack, and also a 250-mile range battery pack. So we're trying to give people a lot of options.
That's impressive, and definitely looking forward to seeing those vehicles on the road. So we talked a bit about the all-wheel drive capability. Is there certain advantages that brings to that version of the vehicle?
Yeah, the cool thing about having the motors in the wheels is they kind of act like servo motors, like in a CNC robot. You know where the motor is on every rotation. You can adjust within like a 1/32 of a turn for stability control and tank turns and all sorts of fun stuff that you can do when you have kind of all-wheel traction and infinite control of the speed of the motor in relation to other motors.
Great, thank you. And the next question I have is, can you talk, because you mentioned next year, can you go through like sort of the milestones, where you are in development, kind of where you expect things to be as we move forward here in the near future?
Yeah, we're commissioning the tools to make the body structure right now in Italy. Italy will make the full body structure, the closures, put the glass on, and ship us basically a whole complete body. Then in San Diego, we'll produce the frames and put the battery pack, which we'll manufacture in San Diego, and the solar panels on, which we manufacture in San Diego, and a bunch of small sub-assemblies that'll be made by, contract suppliers. And, we have 12 stations to build the Aptera, and in less than 2 hours, you go from a bare body to a full, complete Aptera, and you're able to honk the horn and drive out the door. So our facility down in San Diego can produce 40 vehicles per shift. So we hope to scale to 2 shifts within 18 months and be producing about 20,000 vehicles a year down in San Diego here shortly.
Well, that'll be the production hell you get through, and obviously all the best going through that. Thanks for sharing that. So people who would put an order in now, what would be the approximate time when they would get one?
If you're 44,001, then obviously you'd have to wait longer than if you got in 2 years ago. But we hope to scale up to 20,000 vehicles a year very quickly and be able to churn through these. We're talking to some investors now that can hopefully get us to build 2 plants sooner rather than later. And if we can scale up to 40,000 vehicles a year by 2026, then I think we can really start pumping out vehicles. We don't really aspire to as rapid a scale up as Tesla had, but we do hope to deliver about 1 million Aptera by 2033, and I think that would be a pretty grand gesture to the world.
Well, that's exciting, yeah. I think it does deserve a round of applause. So you've announced some exciting partnerships and collaborations. Can you kind of talk a bit more about that and how you're leveraging some of the various ecosystem like the Tesla charger, plug, and so on, which I'm not sure people know that you guys have adapted that.
Yeah, we adopted the NAC standard very early. You
guys were the first ones to pick
We were the
on
first
it,
one
think.
to adopt the North America charge standard.
Yeah.
we see it as just superior engineering, and for our vehicle in particular, we wanted to put the charger on the tail for a lot of reasons, and the tail's pretty slim. So to put a CCS charge plug on the rear of this vehicle would have been a nightmare, but you look at the Tesla charge plug and you're like, that's it, like that's where it should be. And then you look at the CCS plug and you're like, well, that's bigger than a gas handle that you put in cars. Like what? Like we're going backwards. So we aggressively fought for the next standard. We had a petition out that 42,000 people signed graciously to help push Congress to pass legislation.
I was one of them.
Nice. But that put great leverage on Tesla and an Elon we trust, and he opened up the standard, and now everybody can use it. And I think it's just it's great. I'm glad that everybody can use it, and I hope that every DC fast charge experience in the future is through the NACS plug.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fait accompli, given that so many other vendors have now signed on. So it's really, I think, in North America, going to be a matter of time before the Tesla NACS is the one.
Yazaki's building our wiring harnesses. They built all of the Tesla charge plugs up until like 2021. They're the largest wiring harness manufacturer in the world. They're in half of every new car sold. We have CPC in Italy that's building our bodies. They build turnkey Lamborghini Aventadors. They build the body structure for McLaren and Ferrari and kind of every supercar out there. They see this and they're like, this is the future. This is where we want to be. We want to be in high volume carbon fiber body structures. We think that other manufacturers, like the Tesla Roadster and others, should be adopting this technology because it's lighter weight, it's stronger, it's got better roof crush strength and things like that. So CPC's been great in Italy, and the developments that we've made there have been much faster than I thought that we could do it. I think it's been great that they just fell in love with our design and are really kind of shepherding us into production as quick as possible.
Great, thanks. All right, so I'm going to change up this question, kind of be a little unconventional, but I think it's kind of important, again, especially for folks who maybe have the car on order or thinking about getting it or whatever. So I'm big from a work point of view into culture, right? So I kind of wanted to ask sort of the behind the curtain question on, like, can you kind of go through what's the culture that you're helping instill in Aptera as a company, to just make sure it has the resiliency, you guys keep the creativity, the engineering, all of those kind of things going in the org?
Yeah, we're a very open company. I like to encourage our engineers to fail fast. Make the bold decision, move on it, and if it's going to blow up, then get it to blow up quick so we can make a decision to move on to something else. And it's not something that you'll be persecuted over, but that will make the best vehicle for the world. We're trying to put cleaner, greener transportation out for everyone, and we think that the freedom that Aptera can provide, not only from taxing the grid, but also from people's pocketbooks. If you can provide people with 11,000 miles of free solar driving a year, it means you're not paying for the electricity, you're not paying for the gas. I think it could really be impactful, and I think a lot of Aptera has just been inspired by the mission that we're here to make the world a better place, and they've really given their all to make this company what it is today.
Great. So we have a little bit of time. Let me just sort of throw it out. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to ask a question? I know this is a little unconventional, but can I get a mic for a couple people, for one of the or two of the people?
Or you could go down and let people ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay,
you got one? Okay. All right, sorry, who had their hand up? Okay.
This sounds like an absolutely wonderful car.
Oh, thank you.
How about crash safety?
Good question.
There's a lot of crazy drivers on the road.
There are a lot of crazy drivers, and when you drive something like this, it's very noticeable, so people try to take pictures and stuff. But this is actually a carbon fiber monocoque vehicle. It's built much like a Formula One car. So it's got a big crumple zone in the front. It's got a big boxed out section by your H point, which is where most side entries come. And when we last tested this body structure, we actually had the highest roof crush strength of any passenger car on the road. So we've designed it to be very safe, and with composites and kind of our organic shapes, I think we've been able to do things that steel and aluminum just can't do. and it costs more. The body structure costs considerably more than a steel or aluminum structure, but it gives us a safety factor, and it gives us kind of the organic shape that we need to be as aerodynamic as possible. So I want my mother to be able to drive this. I want to be able to take my grandkids. So I want to build the safest vehicle possible to put on the road, and that's what we've tried to do.
Chris, thanks. Let's try to get 2 more in.
Yeah, so I had a question regarding the front fenders. How high are they up
It's
from the
5
front?
1/4 inches. This isn't a production version. It's made to look cooler, so it's only about 3 inches. So 5 1/4 inches, and that's about what a Honda Civic is. So the ground clearance should be pretty normal for most driving situations.
And would you be considering a third, like a third seat somehow in the middle that might
We
be
did have a
leaning?
design that had a third seat in the middle. You could put like a kid seat in, or maybe have a
Yes.
toddler seat there. We decided to launch the first vehicle without that complexity because Sandy said simplify, so we did. And we hope the first 4,000 or 5,000 vehicles will be without that. But in the future, we hope to make many different variants of this. We do think that this would be great for like food delivery, FedEx package delivery, Amazon. You know, those people, they want to adopt electric vehicles. They want to adopt, Teslas and other vehicles, but they have to install big chargers to charge those vehicles. So if they could get a commercial vehicle that's solar powered, it could be a lifesaver for fleet vehicles.
Last question. I'm over
Yep.
time, so go ahead.
Just a real quick one. Can you explain the genesis of the name Aptera?
Aptera is actually Greek for wingless, and in certain contexts, it's used for like wingless flight. Have pterodactyl, Aptera. So without wings is kind of a perfect name for this. I think a lot of people think, does it fly? My comment is, well, if you get it going fast enough. But it's made just to be the most aerodynamic thing out there, and as a consequence, you get crazy efficiency. It can be solar powered, and hopefully with the 43,000 people that have supported us, and hopefully some in this audience that have supported us and will support us now that you've heard our story, we'll make the world a better place, a greener place.
Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you.
If you guys have any questions, he's got a team, and he will be available, and the car will be parked in the main tent in the middle. Thank you guys very much. You've been a great audience.
Thanks,
Chris,
everybody.
thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, sir. Oh, sorry, thank you.